Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is October 22nd, and we're going to feature a few things in this video. So it's going to be an odds and sods. We're going to have the flea market picks from when I went to the flea market on September 27th. It was only a few items I got there. That was kind of a disappointing day. And then going to have a couple of items from a yard sale that I got later that same day. And then I've got an item came in from eBay we'll take a look at. That's kind of neat. And also an item I had shipped to me by somebody who was selling a lot of tools on Facebook Marketplace, and they were splitting up the stuff, and I spotted something, and I inquired and ended up getting that item and maybe one or two items from them. I don't remember. But anyways, without further ado, let's dive right in. So the very first item I ended up buying off of a dealer right when I got there, and he was still unloading his stuff, may be the best buy that whole day. Like I said, that day was not a good day for the flea market. Didn't do really well, but he had this little drill press sitting there, and I took one look at it and I thought to myself, that sure looks like a Do More sensitive drill press or high precision drill press. And sure enough, it is. It's a Do More model 8226. So this is a 17,000 RPM drill press, and these trade for decent money. He had no idea that was the case, I'm sure, because he took my offer, my one and only offer of $15 for it, because the plug is cut off the cord end, which is not a good sign. That might be an indication that the thing is junk. But I just couldn't resist. I mean, it even has the chuck still with it. Somebody tied it to the handle here. So it actually looks like the table is in pretty decent shape. One hole right in the middle. Still got a drill bit in it. It spins freely. So before this video is done, we will throw a plug on this thing and fire it up and see what it does. And in case anybody was wondering about what the label looked like, the same dealer also had this Machinery's Handbook 21st edition sitting there. It's actually in pretty good shape, and he took $5 for it, which is a good deal for these. These tend to trade for $15 to $25. He also had a machinist toolbox with some odds and ends in it, but nothing of real value in there. I did piece together a couple of little odd things here and there, nothing to get excited about, and ended up putting that in a pile, and then we couldn't come to an agreement on how much to pay for it, so I put it all back. And then later I came back to that dealer a little bit later on in the day and went through the toolbox again and spotted something I had seen the first time around but didn't pay much attention to. In fact, it was two items. The first item is this Sharp model EL5002. That's 5000 with a Roman numeral 2 after it. Scientific calculator. So this would have been a really pricey calculator back in the day, and when I turned it on, I noticed that it comes on dim, which means the batteries are probably dead, but it actually does come on, and did some basic calculations, and it seems to work perfectly fine. And I got this for $1, which is pretty cool. And then the other item I got for $1 was this little metal tube right here. Just a little metal sleeve. Doesn't look very interesting at all, except... So the other item I found in the toolbox that I gave him $1 for was this little sleeve, or so I thought it was a sleeve. And I was like, well, I think that might be for a inside micrometer set or something like that, an extension sleeve. And then come to find out, it's like, oh, it dawned on me later that this is an 827A. Starrett is what this is marked. 827A is an edge finder. So this started its life as an edge finder, and somebody broke it apart, and it's got a really sharp edge on the edge here. I think what happened here is I think somebody ground that into a gauge pin. That they ground the end of it to probably a very specific length, I'm guessing. So it's about a half a thou to a thou over 1 3/4 inches. So I think that's what they were intending to do with this. All right, and the last few items, or last couple items I got at the flea market that day were, I got these 4 brand new unopened bottles of 2-stroke oil. This is just the Echo brand. They sell like Home Depot or whatever. But these are actually genuine steel. So this makes 2.5 gallons, and this is probably a gallon. Yeah, this is for 1 gallon. Anyways, I got these 4 bottles for $3, which is a good deal. And last but not least, this little crow's foot I got for $2, which the reason why I paid $2 for it is because it's a snap-on. So I have no idea whether or not I'm going to be able to make any money on that or not, but I just figured, well, anytime you can buy a snap-on tool for $1 or $2, that's a no-brainer, right? Oh, this next item is actually from a couple 2 or 3 weeks ago at the flea market. I actually ended up buying a bunch of stuff off a guy, and he ended up throwing this in for free with the other stuff that I bought, and I had forgotten all about it because it was inside of an ammo can that I had bought for my son. And when I went to bring the ammo can in the house, something was rolling around inside, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I put this in there. So at the time when I was looking at it at the guy's table, he didn't know what it was, and I wasn't sure what it was, but I was looking at the nose on this thing, and see how this middle part moves in and out, and it's got a set screw. It's clearly made to hold something with a square shank. So everything was indicating to me that this was a for holding taps. So that I believe this is a tapping head. And since I got it home and have looked it up, sure enough, this is a tapping head. This is an Autal, or A-U-T-A-L. Be my guest if you know how to pronounce that. Can't quite make out the model number or whatever it says on the side here, but I think this is a German-made tapping head. From what I was able to find online from the few people that I did see mentioning having them, they said it's actually a pretty good tapping head, pretty good quality. It has a adjusting ring on the top here. This must be for the slip clutch, and so it's set at 4 by the looks of it. So this is, we can turn it all the way back down to, well, actually 8, 7. So actually that just keeps going around and around. That's unscrewing. So there must be some sort of a clutch in here, which makes sense. That's what tapping heads, by design, tapping heads are basically supposed to do 2 things. One of the things it's supposed to have built into them is some sort of a slip clutch, so that if the tap hangs, it will not snap. The second thing it's supposed to have is it's supposed to have some sort of mechanism in it so that when you're putting pressure on the tapping head downward, that the tap will be turning in the right direction to go in, and that when you pull back up on the spindle, it will change direction. There should be a mechanism in here to change direction so that this will start rotating in the other direction and the tap will back out, so that you can do the same operation that you would do with a hand tapping operation, where you would turn it part way and then you turn it back to break the chip, and then turn it a little bit further and then turn it back, break the chip, and continue to do that. That's what this is supposed to be able to do. So there's something wrong with this, because it doesn't turn or come out or anything. So I think it's seized up inside here. So at some point I'll have to take this apart and do some work on it. So I'm not going to bother doing that right now. This hole right here is for a handle. So there's just a long rod that would go in here that would allow you to basically hold this so that it didn't just free spin in the spindle of the drill press or the milling machine or whatever. And that's basically all there is to it. So that was a freebie. So I'm not too broken up about the fact that it doesn't work. So this next group of items was a ad I saw on Marketplace for what he described as lathe tools. And in most of the pictures, there were a lot of carbide inserts. And there were also various tool holders for those carbide inserts. I wasn't really interested in those, but I did spot this tool holder. And I asked the gentleman through a message if he could see if there were any markings on it, and he told me that it said CXA. As soon as he told me it said CXA, I knew there was high probability that it was an Aloris, which it turns out it's clearly marked Aloris. And even though it's got rust on it, and I could see that in the picture, I didn't see this little bit of damage here, but I'm not too worried about it. It's not going to cause a problem as far as being able to use this. And this fits my tool post on my Vernon lathe, so I'm going to end up keeping this anyways. So I was interested in getting this, and he's about 2 hours away in New Hampshire, so I asked him if he'd be willing to ship this. We got to talking, and initially I talked about giving him $28 shipped for this, which would be $20 for the holder and $8 to put it in a small flat rate box or something like that, you know. Then I spotted these V blocks, and when I first looked at them, I said, do you have the clamps for them? And he wasn't a machinist, so he had no idea what I was talking about. And then I kind of described to him what the clamp would look like, and he said, oh, I do have one of those. He said, I thought it was a gear puller. So he thought this was some sort of a gear puller, which I could see where he might think that, the way it's, you know, made. The dead giveaway is that it's an original clamp, is that it's got the second threaded hole, so you can offset the hold down screw. So you can take the screw out and put it in here, and it gives you more versatility. Unfortunately, he didn't have two clamps, he just had the one. But what's great about these V blocks is that these are a matched pair. So Starrett sold this V block, which is a, bear with me one second. This is a model 588 V block. And Starrett sold this V block as either just a single V block, or you could buy the precision matched pair, which are, I guess, are precision ground to be perfectly matched. So the way you can tell when this is a matched pair is that there'll be, I guess, you might even say it's like a serial number. There'll be a number on the block like this, and that number matches this number. So they both say 2755 on them, which means it's a matched pair. So they're, you know, it's got some rust on it, which is unfortunate, but other than that, they're in pretty good shape. There are no, I didn't see any oopsies on it. There's like some rub marks on here, but you can't feel them with your finger, which is kind of weird. So I'm not too worried about it. So the funny thing is too about these Starrett blocks is one of these with the clamp is pretty expensive. The matched pair with two clamps new are crazy expensive. I forget how many hundreds of dollars they are, but so I'm going to probably keep these for myself. I think I've got a single one of these, so I'll probably end up selling the single one and keep the pair for myself. And then if you need to buy a replacement clamp, of course you can still buy them, but they're also pretty expensive, pretty pricey. So it was nice that he had the clamp. And then the best thing of all was when he found the clamp and put the blocks together, he agreed to sell me these pieces shipped to me for $50. So I ended up getting, remember I already said I was going to pay $20 for this. So I ended up getting this pair of V blocks with the clamp for $30 shipped to me for free. So pretty good deal. Next up, we hit a yard sale, which was part of a moving sale that the people have been having every weekend for several weeks. And my wife wanted, she knew the daughter of the people that were moving, so she wanted to stop by and look at the yard sale. She didn't realize that they had been having it for a while. I agreed to go along with her for the ride. And when we got there and I drove, we pulled up, I happened to see leaning up against the tree, I saw this crowbar. And I was just recently looking for one of my crowbars, and I had trouble finding it, and I was like, well, it'd be nice to have another crowbar. And then I happened to spot this one, and it's like, whoa, this thing. I mean, I don't even think I can get it into the shot completely with this camera. But this is a nice, these early crowbars are really well-made steel. But overall, this is like 33 3/4 inches. So that's a nice long bar. And he had $2 on it. So I was like, well, that's a no-brainer. $2, I'm going to take that home. And then I looked around a little bit more. I found one other item, and then got to talking to the individual who was sitting in the chair there, the dad, and he was telling me that there were some machinist items. I forgot how we got into the conversation, but long story short, I know what it was. I could see some stuff around the corner of the garage. It was just piled up. It was metal, and he had put all this stuff together for the scrap guy, some guy he knows who was going to take it to the scrapyard for free. Oh, before I went up and paid for the crowbar, I came across this little Marvel Mystery Oil air tool oil. It feels like it's pretty full, and so when I went up to him, he ended up throwing this in, and I just paid the $2 for crowbar, and he gave me that for free. But anyways, so he was giving that stuff away to the scrap guy for free. So I asked him, "Do you mind if I take a quick look?" And I looked through one of the boxes, and I found these 3 items, which I ended up, I think, paying like $2 for. I think I think it was $5 for everything in the end, and ended up getting this Billings 4879 wrench. This looks like a lathe wrench to me. This just hunk of brass that somebody had been using as a punch or drift. And this old wrench here, which is also, this is a Williams, which I also think is another lathe wrench. It looks like the kind of, for the locking bolts on the carriage or something like that. It's a 585. It's in excellent shape. So that was a nice little deal there. And then I got one other item I got there. And so the last item I bought at the yard sale there was this radio. He had $5 on it. I think I ended up getting it for $3. And I was looking at it, trying to figure out what it was, and then forgot what I saw in here that made me think that it's probably a VHF radio for on your boat. And sure enough, when I brought it up to him, he said, "You know what that is?" I said, "I think it's a VHF radio." And he said, "Yep." And he explained that he had a sailboat, and this was a radio he kept on the sailboat in case of an emergency. If something happened to the main radio on the boat, or if he was out of cell service range, he would have this as a backup. So it actually works perfectly fine. I can't really do much with it because it's a VHF radio for on the boat. I'll probably just end up throwing it up on eBay. Some of you guys might have been curious as to who makes this thing. It's a Ray Jefferson is the name on the back, and I think I tried it with the AC adapter. I don't remember whether or not the battery pack takes a charge or not. Very interesting. I have a Radio Shack 40 channel walkie-talkie that has the same design, the way this slides off. That's probably a pretty common way to make these. But on some of these, you can actually take them apart. And the idea was that you could put in regular rechargeable cells or regular AAA batteries. But this looks like it's a dedicated NiCad pack. So we got the 2 power outlets here. The idea being that if you wanted to run the radio off the AC adapter, you plug into the top one. Boy, that's loud.
Highs in the mid-50s. Northeast wind 5 to 10 miles an hour. Sunday night, partly cloudy until midnight. Then
So nothing wrong with that. And then the lower port here is to charge the battery pack. All right, and the final item is an eBay purchase. So I saw this on eBay, and the gentleman selling it was asking for, I think, $50, and then he was only asking for $3 shipping. And I thought, well, that's kind of unusual. Shipping seems awful low, but it was Brown and Sharp, and I was like, oh, so Brown and Sharp, and it's tapered hole checks or checkers or something like that. I think it was what they wrote on here. So I was like, that's interesting. So I decided, for the heck of it, I figured, well, it's Brown and Sharp. Can't go wrong there, right? So I took a chance and I threw the guy an offer, a best offer of $25. And he came back and he said, nah, didn't want to do that. So then I thought about it. I said, well, he only wants $3 shipping. So I, just for the heck of it, I bumped it to 27, or I think maybe he counted with 27. Yeah, that's what it was. He counted with 27, and I realized, okay, 27 plus the $3 shipping makes it $30. Of course, eBay now collects tax from us, but that's another story. So he agreed. I mean, he gave me the counter offer. I accepted, and I got this for $30. And then it came in, and when the box came in, I thought to myself, "Oh, this can't be the right item," because I had no idea how big this was. And when it came in and the box was this big, I was like, "Oh boy, this is not what I thought it was." I thought they were angle blocks. So what I've got is I've got this little set of these things here, right? It's got a little chart, okay? And it says like sizes, 1/4 inch to 5/16, use AA. And then there's use BB, use BC. So I'm like, wait a minute. What is this thing? Well, what we have is a bunch of these precision little tapered doohickeys. So what we got is we got these tapered little doohickeys. And the way these work is you take 2 of them, all right? Let's say these are both B's, so this would be BB. So BB means that this is for if I've got a hole that I want to get a precise measurement on that's between 5/16 and 3/8. I put B and B together like so. I then stick these down in the hole. Now remember, because of the fact that they've got a taper to them, I can adjust them almost like adjustable parallels, right? So I can go way down here to really skinny, or I can go up here to pretty fat, right? So you're going to stick those down into the hole so that they fit in tight. And once they fit in tight, you then come to the area that's outside the hole up here, and you put your micrometer on there. And you get your measurement. How cool is that? I thought it was kind of neat. So sometimes you're going to put, like, depending on the size hole, you might only use A and B, or A and A for a really small hole, and so on and so on. So we basically have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pieces total in here, in a very early original Brown and Sharp box. So I thought these were kind of neat, and I'm going to keep these. I read online where a guy bought these, kind of the same premise as me. It's like, how can you go wrong? It's Brown and Sharp. It was cheap enough. He bought them, and he found them to be quite useful. Oh, I totally forgot. We were going to test out this drill press together. Well, I went to strip the insulation back to put a new plug on it, and discovered that this insulation on this wiring is shot. It's very dry and brittle. Any bending of the wire just causes it to crack off. So I was going to cut back further to see, if I could find some good wire, but I kind of doubt it, because if I do this, I don't know if you can hear that. That crackling, that's the telltale sign. And I could do that all the way up to the drill press header here, and it still does it. So I'm going to have to replace this entire cord. All right, guys, if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. Take care.